You did not fail today. You did nothing today. There is a difference, and it is killing you slower than any failure ever could. You know the feeling. Sunday night, the lights are off, the phone is face down, and somewhere under your ribs there is a low, quiet dread. Not about Monday, about the fact that this Sunday looks exactly like the last one, and the one before that. You told yourself you were being careful, responsible, smart. You were waiting for the right time, the clearer sign, the version of yourself that finally feels ready. That version does not exist. She was never coming. He was never coming. You built a waiting room and moved in. Here is what nobody tells you about fear of failure. It was never designed to protect you. It was designed to keep you still. Still people are easy. Still people don't compete for the promotion, don't start the business, don't ask for the raise, don't leave the town that has nothing left to give them. Still people are convenient for everyone except themselves. Machiavelli wrote that fortune governs half of what happens to us and leaves the other half, or close to it, in our own hands. Read that twice. Half. Not all of it, not none of it. Half. Which means the excuse that it might not work was never the full story. It was the half you were hiding behind, so you didn't have to look at the half that was yours all along. This is not a video about confidence. This is not a video about mindset. This is not a pep talk designed to make you feel warm for 20 minutes and change nothing by Tuesday. This is a system. Cold, mechanical, repeatable, for acting while afraid. The way a strategist moves while afraid. The way the wolf hunts while afraid. Because waiting for the fear to leave first is how you die in the waiting room with the porch light still on. There is one move in this system that looks backward to everyone watching you. It contradicts everything you were taught about building yourself up before you act. We will get to it. You are not ready for it yet. By the end of this, you will not feel braver. You will simply understand that bravery was never the requirement. Movement was. Phase 1. The anatomy of a cage. Here is the part they don't put on the motivational poster. Fear of failure is not really about failure. It is about being seen. You are not afraid of the business collapsing in private. You are afraid of it collapsing where people can watch. You are not afraid of the promotion request being denied. You are afraid of the denial having witnesses. Strip away the noise, and what's left is simple. And it is not flattering. You have been protecting your image and calling it caution. Look at the wolf and the sheep for a second. The sheep does not move until the herd moves. It survives by disappearing into the group, by never being the one whose decision gets tested. The wolf moves alone, on information that is never complete, because waiting for complete information means watching the herd graze somewhere else by the time you're ready. The wolf is not less afraid. The wolf just refuses to let the fear cast the vote. Now look at the lion and the fox. The lion is strength anyone can see coming. The fox survives by being underestimated, by moving quietly while everyone assumes it isn't moving at all. You have probably tried to be the lion in public. Loud plans, bold announcements, the promise you made at dinner that you'd finally do it this year. And when the fear showed up, the lion version of you froze because it had an audience to answer to. The fox never had that problem. The fox moves in private first, fails in private first, and only shows the room a result once there is one worth showing. You don't need permission to be quiet about your first attempts. You need permission to stop performing readiness you don't feel. But it gets worse. Every week you don't move. Someone with less talent than you, less insight than you, less right to succeed than you, moves anyway. Clumsy, underprepared, occasionally embarrassed, and collects the thing you were rehearsing for in your head. You are not competing against your own fear. You are competing against everyone willing to look foolish before you're willing to look foolish. That is the entire game. Most people never even realize they're playing it. Phase 2, the lie of safety. You call it patience. You call it doing more research. You call it waiting for the right time. None of those are lies you're telling other people. They're lies you're telling yourself. And they're the most comfortable lies you own, because they let you feel like you're still moving forward while you stand completely still. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few ever experience what you really are. Translate that out of the palace and into your life. Everyone sees the calm, composed person who is still thinking it over. Nobody sees the version of you at 2 in the morning, replaying the conversation you didn't have, the application you didn't submit, the number you didn't call. The appearance of patience is hiding the reality of paralysis. And the longer you wear that mask, the more you start to believe it yourself. Here's the part they never teach you. Safety and stillness are not the same thing. A closed door is not safety. It's just a slower kind of loss. One that doesn't announce itself with a single bad day, but drains you in installments so small, you mistake them for nothing happening at all. Your friend who has researched the same business idea for 2 years is not being careful. She is financing someone else's head start with her own hesitation. He is not protecting himself from a bad outcome. He is guaranteeing the only outcome that was never on the table before. No outcome at all. Think about the difference between an owner and a renter, because it applies to more than property. An owner makes the decision, absorbs the outcome, and builds equity in the version of themselves that acts. A renter pays the same emotional cost every single month. The same worry, the same rehearsal, the same Sunday dread, and builds nothing. No equity, no proof, no version of themselves that gets stronger from it. You have been renting your own potential for years, paying the fear tax on a life you don't even occupy yet, and calling the rent payment discipline. And this is where it starts to cost you socially, not just personally. The room can tell. The room always knows who moves and who talks about moving. You get quietly recategorized, not as careful, but as safe to overlook. Not as someone building towards something, but as someone who will still be discussing it next year. That reputation compounds in the wrong direction, and by the time you notice it, other people have already decided who you are. If any part of that landed, comment, "I move anyway," and mean it. Not as a slogan, as a line in the sand. I want to see who's actually serious before we go further, because the next phase is where this stops being a diagnosis and becomes a weapon. Phase 3, the strategists filter. Stay with me, because this is where the video stops sounding like everything else you've watched on this topic. Everyone treats failure like a verdict. A strategist treats it like a report. That's the entire filter, and it changes everything downstream of it. The archer who calculates.
Wind speed for 20 minutes before releasing a single arrow is not being precise. He's being
paralyzed and calling it precision. The archer who fires watches where it lands and adjusts by 6 inches on the next shot will out-hit him every single time. Not because he's more talented, but because he's collecting information the frozen archer never gets to see. A miss, to him, is not proof he shouldn't shoot. It's data about the wind. The herd waits for a signal that never comes. A perfect moment, a clear, all clear, a guarantee nobody has ever been issued. The hunter doesn't wait for the signal. The hunter reads the terrain that's actually in front of them, takes the stalk, and treats a failed approach as information about the wind, the ground, the timing, never as proof the hunt itself was a mistake. 10 failed stalks are not 10 failures stacked on top of each other. They're 10 data points the herd will never have, because the herd never left the clearing. This is not about waiting for confidence. This is not about feeling ready. This is not about eliminating the fear before you move. This is about treating every attempt, successful or not, as intelligence you didn't have an hour ago. Machiavelli put it plainly. A wise prince relies on what is in his own control. You cannot control whether the pitch lands, whether the answer is yes, whether the first version works. You can control whether you gather the data or stay blind indefinitely. That's the whole asset. Everything else is fortune's half, and you don't get a vote on fortune's half. Run the filter on your own life for a second. That idea you've been sitting on, is the fear actually about the outcome or about not yet knowing what the outcome will teach you? Once you see failure as data collection instead of self-verdict, you stop needing to feel ready. Readiness was never a real state. It was a stall tactic wearing a disguise. Phase 4. The first move doctrine. Here's the move I promised you at the start, the one that looks backward to everyone still waiting to feel brave. You do not build confidence and then act. You act in a small and controlled and reversible enough way, and confidence shows up afterward, uninvited, as a side effect. Nobody warns you about this because it sounds like a trick. It isn't. It's just how the mechanism actually runs. And once you've seen it work once, you can't unsee it. Think about the house in a casino. The house does not need one perfect bet. It places thousands of small ones, each individually uncertain, and lets the math do what individual courage never could. This next move separates the owners from the owned. Owners take the small first step today. The email sent, the draft published, the awkward conversation started, while the owned keep auditioning the idea in their heads for the 40th time, waiting for a certainty that was never going to arrive. The first move doesn't need to be big. It needs to be real, and it needs to be today. Send the message you've drafted 4 times. Submit the version that isn't perfect. Say the thing out loud to one person before you're ready to say it to everyone. Or take the manuscript you've rewritten 40 times and send it to one editor tonight, unfinished corners and all, instead of polishing it for a 41st draft nobody has asked to see. The point was never to make it perfect. The point was to make it real enough that the fear has something to react to besides your own imagination. Each of those is small enough to survive a bad outcome and real enough to generate the only thing that ever actually kills fear. Evidence that you didn't die from moving. This is the part where the video either changes something or joins the pile of videos you watched and did nothing about. If you're still here, you already know which one you want it to be. Comment, "I take the first move," if you're done auditioning your own life for an audience that was never watching that closely anyway. Then go do the thing you've been rehearsing before you finish reading the end of this. Phase 5. The price of the free. Most people quit right before this part. So if you're still here, you're already ahead of everyone who closed the tab 3 minutes ago. There is no avoiding this war. Machiavelli said it about nations, but it's just as true about you. The war between the version of you that moves and the version of you that waits can only be postponed, never cancelled. Postponing it doesn't protect you. It just hands the win to the waiting version by default. One more day at a time, until the waiting version is simply who you are. Picture the funeral nobody wants to picture. Not the tragic, sudden kind. The slow kind. The one that comes at the end of a long life lived carefully. The stories people tell are never about the year someone tried something and it fell apart. Nobody stands up and says, "I wish they had researched the idea for 1 more year." They say the other thing. They say, "I wish they had just done it." The regret that outlives you is never the failed attempt. It's the attempt you refused to make. That is the stake sitting underneath everything in this video. Not the promotion, not the business, not even this week. The stake is which story gets told about you at the end, and who you hand that story to when you go quiet and someone younger asks what it took. Now, the transformation. The version of you on the other side of this doctrine is not louder, not more confident sounding, just quieter and far more dangerous. Because he moves while others deliberate. She ships while others polish, and neither one needs an audience's permission before taking the first step. That person doesn't announce the plan at dinner anymore. They don't need the room's approval before they start, and they stop needing it the moment they stop asking. That person unsettles the room without trying to. Stillness used to look safe. Now it just looks like what it always was. But there is a price, and you should know it before you pay it. You will look reckless to people who confuse caution with wisdom. You will feel exposed the first few times, because moving before you're ready always feels exposed. That never fully goes away. It just stops controlling you. And the comfortable version of yourself, the one who narrated every excuse on this list back to you like a friend, has to die today. Not gradually. Today. Say it if you mean it. The broke, frozen, waiting version of you does not get to run the rest of your life. There is a sharper edge to this doctrine. How strategists engineer small, irreversible bets on purpose, just to force their own hand before fear gets a vote. And that is a conversation for people who are already moving, not people still deciding whether to start. Comment, "I move anyway" 1 more time, and mean it as an oath, not a caption. Then subscribe, not as a favor to this channel, but as your own initiation into being someone who acts. The fear was never going anywhere. It was just waiting to see if you'd move without its permission.